Hi there, my name is Dr. Katie Saint, and this video is about different strategies that we can use to cope with the stress during COVID-19. So, ACT therapy has 6 processes that they use to help people work through things. And so, I'm going to go through each of those 6 processes and then talk about different activities that we can do, whether for ourselves or with our children, to help us cope during this stressful time. So, the first process is called present moment awareness. So, what this process focuses on is people's mindfulness, their self awareness. When we're in the present moment, we're noticing all of the contingencies in place, we're noticing how our actions affect other people, and we're noticing if what we're doing is hurting or helping. So, one activity that you can do with your children to help them be more aware and mindful of how their behaviors are impacting each other is have them draw a picture. And in one picture, have them draw something that makes their family happy. When I act like this in my home, this makes my family members happy. Have them draw a picture of that. Then have them draw a picture of something that doesn't make their family members happy. Right now, we're spending extra time with our families and sometimes in close quarters, and so it's important that each of our family members be aware of what's going to help or hurt those relationships. So have them go ahead and draw a picture of something that would maybe be annoying or frustrating to their family, and then talk about it. Talk about other ideas that you have that would help or hurt. This sort of activity is going to increase their awareness and make them more mindful of how their actions impact the people around them. Another strategy you can do to increase their mindfulness is to do the 5 senses activity. So what that activity is you have the child focus on each of their senses one at a time. So you would say, okay, close your eyes, sit comfortably. I want you to just sit and listen. Describe to me what you hear. They might hear some buzzing, they might hear the clock ticking, they might hear somebody playing in the other room. So you go through each of the senses and have them notice, have them be aware. Mindfulness is a muscle that needs practice. So when we do activities like this, it makes our self-awareness stronger. The more we do it, the better we get at it. So another activity that you can do to help children be mindful of their tone of voice is fill up a cup with water to the very top, and then have your child put their face right above the top of that cup, and then have them talk in different tone of voices, different volumes, and direct them to notice what happens to the water. When they're talking calm, it's going to have small ripples or no ripples at all. But if they're loud or their tone of voice is harsh or too excited, there's going to be a lot of ripples. So this kind of helps them increase their awareness on their tone of voice. Volume is really important right now when we're all in the home together. If people are too noisy, that can be stressful. So this activity can help with that. All right, next one is acceptance. Acceptance is one of the processes of ACT therapy that focuses on us accepting difficult things in life. So all of us have experienced losses right now. Some of us can't see loved ones. Some of our favorite places to go are shut down. We can't go to school. We're not seeing all sorts of things and doing all sorts of things that we used to be able to do, and that's hard, and that is difficult sometimes. And so part of what ACT focuses on is getting people to accept negative things, because a lot of times when we can't accept something, we do things that make the situation worse. So one thing that you can do to work on acceptance is write something you really value on a note card, and then on the back write the negative things about that, and talk through, like, for example, if I really, really value my relationship with my kids, I can write kids on one side, and then on the back, I can write sometimes I have to do things that I don't feel like doing, or sometimes even when I'm tired, I have to help people, things like that. And so then you have to ask yourself, am I willing to accept the negative things in order to have a good relationship with my kids? So when we do that with children, it might be a good relationship with their parents. It might be the ability to play with toys. You know, you can tailor it to whatever they care about. But working through an activity like this can help them see how you can't have the good without some of the bad. And so sometimes we just need to accept that that bad things come with good things. Like, a lot of people really, really want to be smart. But in order to be smart, you need to do your homework, you need to try hard. Sometimes you need to work when you don't feel like it. So this activity can help people realize that and hopefully accept that there's no way around this. In order to have these good things, I do have to tolerate some of these bad things. Another example could be, say you really don't like all the restrictions that are being put on the coronavirus stuff right now, but you also really value the health of your family members. You really value people not getting sick. And so because you appreciate those things, then you kind of need to accept the bad things that go along protecting people's health. So another activity for working on acceptance is having kids or adults write out things that are frustrating, things they don't like. So kind of processing those emotions that are difficult, right? Things that stress them out. And then make a list of, what can I control? What can I do that's going to make these things better? What can I do that would actually make these things worse? And so sometimes when we focus on what we can control and accept the things that we can't control, it makes it easier to deal with those emotions. The next thing to work on acceptance is, sometimes it's easy to focus on the negative and focus on everything that we've lost. But if we can make a list for our kids together, sit down with them and talk about, like, okay guys, what is our new normal? Yes, we've lost some things, but we've also gained some things too, right? Like, we get more quality time together, we have more time to play games. You know, go through and talk those things out with your kids. What are your new normals? What is something that's predictable in your life right now? Some of us feel stressed out, like nothing's predictable, it's always changing, I don't know what to expect from my future because of the coronavirus. But there are some predictable things that happen in all of our everyday lives. And so talk that out with your kids and explore with them. Hey, what are things we do every day? What are predictable things in our life? What is our normal, even though things look different than they used to? This can help kids accept the change, and this can also give them a little bit more security if they're feeling anxious about all of the changes that are happening right now. The next one is diffusion. So diffusion focuses on people's thoughts and emotions, and sometimes we make bad choices because of what we're thinking and feeling. And so diffusion is a way for us to kind of separate from our thoughts and emotions so that our thoughts and emotions don't control us so much. So the first activity that I would recommend to do with your kids is play at the I Cant game. So maybe you guys have experienced your kids saying, I can't do that, I'm not capable, it's just too hard. You know, so if they're making excuses like that, they might feel like that's a true statement, like they can't do it. And so A fun and silly way to work on that is write "I can't" on a card and then come up with like a silly thing for them to do after saying "I can't." So something that they are capable of. So "I can't touch my head." Okay, now go touch your head. So when we do this activity, it kind of takes the power out of the phrase "I can't." And it helps show kids and adults that, hey, we say this sometimes, "I can't touch my nose." But actually you can. Just because we think that thought doesn't make it true. So the next one is recognizing experiential avoidance. This is for parents and kids. So what experiential avoidance means is sometimes we do things to avoid bad feelings. So say doing homework with your kids is kind of stressful because your kids resist it, and it's just a difficult time. Maybe they're having a hard time accepting that you're their teacher now, even though you're not their teacher, and that's hard for some families. So this activity is self-reflection for both you and your kids. What are you doing to avoid difficult things or bad things? Because what happens is people avoid things that make them uncomfortable, but when they do that, they actually make their lives worse. So say you're avoiding doing homework with your kid because it's stressful. Well, then your kid falls further behind in school, and then there's more problems that come along with that. So if we can take some time to recognize in ourselves, hey, what am I avoiding that I should be dealing with? What difficult situations am I trying to escape from that I really need to face? Otherwise, I might unintentionally make my life worse. Next activity is called the passengers on the airplane. So picture this. You are the pilot on an airplane and you get to go wherever you want, but you have these pesky passengers on your airplane trying to tell you what to do. Some of them are anxiety. So your anxiety passenger is telling you, oh, don't fly, you're gonna get hurt, this is not gonna go well, don't do it, it's gonna be awful. Okay, and then maybe you have a low self-esteem passenger on your airplane. Oh man, you are gonna fail at this, you do not have enough skills for this. Okay, and then maybe you have an angry passenger who's like, oh, it's not worth it, don't bother trying, this is gonna suck. So recognize the different passengers on your airplane and recognize that just because they are a passenger on your airplane doesn't mean that you need to listen to them. You're the pilot. You can say no to these passengers. They are not the boss of you. So you can do this activity as an adult. You can do this activity with kids, and just recognize that the passengers in your mind, anxiety, depression, anger, insecurity, those things don't have to control you. You are the boss. Okay, next one is called Contextual Self. So this is a perspective taking process, and it deals with how we view ourselves. So many families right now are struggling with their kids not accepting these changes in roles. So they're not used to their parents being teachers, and they're not used to having to do homework at home, or there's just all these changes in roles, and some kids are seeing their parents work from home, and that's kind of weird for them too. And so typically people with autism are going to struggle with these changes in roles even more than the average person. So there's a fun activity that you can do to help increase flexibility with this, and it's called the bucket game. So what you do is you take a bucket and you ask a kid, what is this bucket used for? And they would say, well, you can put things in it, you can carry things. And maybe they would come up with even more things than that. So then the next thing you do is you take the bucket, you turn it upside down, and you start playing drums on it. And you're like, check it out. This bucket is now a music instrument. Can you think of any other things that we can do with this bucket? Then maybe the kid would put it on their head and be like, this bucket's a hat. So you can be silly with this game. But the point is to help people recognize that you can be a lot of different roles. And this is going to increase that flexibility in accepting that, yes, the primary function of a bucket is to carry things, but you can actually do a lot with it. And so the next activity that you can do to help increase flexibility with this is called the Cool Chameleon. And what this activity does is you talk through how a chameleon changes colors and how, depending on their situation, they look different. And then you go ahead and you talk through the different roles that you and your child have. So I'm a mother, I'm a therapist, I am a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm silly, I'm serious, all of those things. Talk about the different roles you have, and then have the child label colors for all of those things. So, okay, when I'm a sibling, my color is red. And when I am a friend, my color is purple. And so this is meant to be just a silly activity to help kids see, like, hey, I'm kind of like a chameleon. Like, I have different roles, and it's okay. And my mom has different roles. My dad has different roles. Grandpa has different roles. So this just helps increase that flexibility with that rigid thinking on, nope, you're not my teacher, or nope, oh, I only do this with mom, I only do this with dad, that type of thing. So the next process is values. So value clarification is really important for motivation. So sometimes kids need help figuring out what they value. But when we tap into what they care about, we can motivate them. So sometimes we need to remind our kids of what they care about and how it connects to their behaviors. So say they're really mad that they can't go to the park. And so you could use their values and say to them, like, yeah, it's a bummer we can't go to the park, but you know, you really don't want grandpa to get sick, right? If we went to the park, we potentially could catch coronavirus, and then we could bring that home and pass that to grandpa, and he could get sick, and that would make all of us very sad. So, you know, sometimes we can use more immediate values like, oh boy, you want to have fun, you want to play with your toys, but you didn't do your homework yet, and you don't get to have fun until you finish your homework. So another thing that you can do is focus on people or superheroes, things like that your kids think are cool. So you could say, like, oh man, do you think Superman would do his homework? Because I know you want to be like Superman, and Superman definitely does his homework. So you can use silly things like that tap into the kids' values to help them see, like, oh, I do want to be like Superman, so maybe I should do my homework. Or I do want to get to fun, so, you know, so tapping into their values can help motivate them. So the last process is called committed action. And so what this is our action plan for how we are going to move closer to our goals. And it doesn't have to be official goals. It's literally anything that you value. Like, what am I gonna do today that makes me more productive, that leads me to live a happier life? So you can make a box and draw out your plan for the day. I have a visual here that I can show you. Okay, here it is. So this is the ACT matrix. So in this first box here, you can list what are you doing that is keeping you away from your goals and values. So this is to recognize like ways you're actually hurting yourself. Over here, you list these are the things that I can do that will help me. This is going to help me be happier and move towards the things that I care about. Then, if we move down here, this box is for your thoughts and feelings. It's important to recognize how your thoughts and feelings are playing a role in this, and then ask yourself, is it helpful? Is it hurtful? And should I listen to my thoughts and feelings? Are they trying to be the boss of me when they shouldn't? Then the last box is just clarifying your values and talking about what is it that I care about? What would make me happy? What do I want to move towards? So after you fill this whole thing out, then you can make an action plan like, okay, I want to get along good with my family. I want to have lots of fun. But in order to do that, we need to work as a team. So that means I have to do my chores. I have to do my homework. I have to use an inside voice that's not too loud. And if I do those things, I'm not going to get in fights with my family, and we're going to get along, and we're going to have a fun day together. So using that handout in that format, it kind of gives the structure of, hey, this is what's going to help, this is what's going to hurt, and it helps you face your emotions and deal with them rather than experiencing them and then they kind of take over a little bit too much if we don't take the time to kind of think about what we're thinking and feeling and if we should listen or not. So those are some tips to help deal with the stress of the coronavirus. Right now, this is a stressful time for a lot of people. So if you're struggling, please know that you're not alone. But there truly is so much we can do to help. And even if we can't be with you in person, there's so much we can do over video chat. We can walk you through activities. We can help you come up with coping strategies to make this time a time to grow and flourish rather than struggle. So please know that we are here for you and there are a lot of things we can do to improve our situation right now. All right, everyone, thanks so much for listening. Hope it was helpful.